let's see. 3, 2, 1. So, good afternoon. A really quick video. Just picked up a couple new pens that I wanted to try out and give my very first impressions. I have not used these before, though you've seen me stripe tails in the past. So a very informal introduction. But what we're going to use is I found these new Ryobi marking pens. Now, full disclosure, I am a Milwaukee fanboy, right? I do like Milwaukee stuff. I got a bunch of Milwaukee tools in the toolbox. I'm not crazy. I don't have the cup and the shirts and the hat and all that stuff, but I do like Milwaukee tools. And the Milwaukee Inksol has been my favorite pen to use for striping tails. And today we're going to use the Ryobi. There might be some noise in the house because there's a whole bunch of people here. But let's get situated. Let's switch over. And I am tying nothing special. You've seen me tie these before. I just need a couple actually for my tackle bag. A buddy of mine has been just hammering the walleye on a local river, not the Susquehanna. And the depth in the current's pretty slow. The depth is pretty small. So we don't use anything terribly heavy. So I'm tying up some 1/8, and I want to do some sandpike. Sandpike is one of my favorite all-time patterns. It is on the natural side on my board here. But what we're doing is we're taking some natural brown off an undyed, unbleached whitetail. Now, striping the tails, we've done that on the Fire Tiger pattern, the Perch pattern, a couple of the airbrushed jig patterns. And this tail, I don't know if you can see it. This tail, I probably shouldn't waste this quality of tail on a smaller jig, because this hair is easily 8-9 inches long. Real nice tail. I should probably save it for bigger jigs, but I just want to tie one of these up. But so the striped hair, we usually do that on patterns that are, perch patterns. And then this pattern, the sandpike, it represents a minnow. It's a fairly natural looking pattern. It's very simple, just a natural brown and white. But I have a lot of confidence in this pattern. I think it does well almost anywhere. We'll just measure our pinch. Lock this into place. I'm using a 2/0 thread. I just had to fill in a couple little gaps. We'll finish this off quickly. Now this is the first time, like I said, I'm using one of these pens. But I'll try to give you my honest. And really this is just, you know, how it's just my feeling for the way it works. You know, really how much can you learn from, you know, putting on 8 stripes. But a Sharpie marker works just fine, and we've talked about this in the past. So we have let's switch over, or let's so the Sharpie Industrial, or just a regular Sharpie fine point permanent marker, has always, that's been the go-to for the longest time. I've used Sharpies ever since I was a teenager. We've talked about some of the fancier markers that you find at fly shops. Prismacolor is probably my favorite of those types of markers, but they're expensive. You're looking at $7-8 a marker. Sharpies are about 99 cents. The Inksol, Milwaukee Inksol, which is my favorite. I just like the feel of it. Is the ink any blacker than a Sharpie? Not necessarily, though I do think it leaves a crisper line. But the Milwaukee Inksol has been my favorite for the last 4 or 5 years at least. And in terms of durability, I think the tips hold up a little bit better than a Sharpie. But generally the same. And again, price-wise, it's in the dollar range, $1.25. And so for today, we got our Ryobi fine point. Again, another permanent marker. And we're going to give it a try right now. So there we go, the Ryobi fine point. And these were less than $1. I think they were 98 cents a piece. Not too bad. Kind of like it. The lines are not as crisp as the Inksol. I think they do look good. But to me, without a side-by-side comparison, the Ryobi marker is very similar to a Sharpie. But what do you think? I do think the lines are not as crisp. Let's finish this real quick. Goodness, what am I doing? I'm going to tie one more jig real quick, and we will stripe it with the Inksol. The general feel of the marker I liked. It has a round barrel. It's, you know, the same. It's like using a pencil, just like the Sharpie and the Inksol. There is a the Sharpie Pro. This is a pen that I would prefer using, to be honest. I would like this better than a regular Sharpie. I just can't get over the shape of the body. And that's just a personal thing. I don't want to hold the flat, square-shaped pen. I want a pen that's like a pen. But let's tie this up real quick. Do have some newer videos planned in the works, continuing with that theme of odd color jigs, jigs that use colors that aren't not typical, at least what's in my inventory. But again, nothing terribly fancy. Do have a couple patterns to on the idea schedule that are a little bit fancier with tinsels and whatnot, but you know, generally bucktails are just a plain, for the most part, are just plain. Let's finish this up. This bobbin feels a little tight to me. I'm trying not to, when I advance the thread, I'm trying not to pull hard against that collar, because I don't want it to indent and compress those hairs more than what I already have. So I take the jig out of the vise just so I can lift up the hairs and center them on the point of the hook. And then let's make sure I got a nice brand new Inksol. Oh, this one's new. So this Inksol, just to try to make this a fair test, a brand new, bought this the same time I bought the Ryobi. Let's compare. So we will try to hold these, let's see. Head to head. That work? Will not work. Without messing around with the camera. One on top of the other. What do we think? They're similar. Looking at them side by side, I do believe the bottom, which is the Inksol, is a little bit crisper. The lines are a little bit finer. But generally, I think they're both about the same. Yeah, they're close. They're very similar. So I did get the sense that The Ryobi seemed a little fat in the body, but they might be the same. I might just be being picky. No, Ryobi's a little bit wider. So I don't know how well you can see that on the screen, but without getting out the micrometer, the Ryobi is a little bit wider, and when I do touch the hairs, you know, we're using the part of the tip down here and pulling the hairs towards the point, or vice versa, pulling the point toward, you know, we're touching the hairs with the fatter part, and then as we pull the pen away, pulling it towards the point of the tip. But the Ryobi is a little bit more fat in the butt, right? And probably is the reason why the stripe would be a little bit wider. So again, the top jig is the Ryobi. Lines are just a tad wider. You know, this will collapse down as it gets wet, right? The same as this one. Interesting, fun, very impromptu video right there. Just taking a look at a new fine tip permanent marker, at least new to me, a Ryobi fine tip permanent marker. You can give it a try if you don't want a Milwaukee. Your Sharpies are worn out, you want to try something different. Milwaukee ink salt is still my all-time favorite, but the Ryobi, I'm going to keep one here on my desk. It's worth the 98 cents. But I think that's going to do it for us today. As always, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any new content. Feel free to share any of our videos, as it does help increase awareness for the channel. Check out the website, jworthhandtied.com. We added some of those wine and done jigs to the website. Had a lot of requests for those. I'm not going to lie on that. But I think that's going to do it for us today. So head on out to a big box store, see if you can find a Ryobi marker or ink salt or a Sharpie. Tie yourself up some jigs, stripe some hair, and until next time, guys, keep tying tight lines.